not. Today's lesson is lesson 17 out of chapter 17 on the 17th of June. I'm going to introduce to you, we're not leaving 13, we're going to go back today back to 13, but we're going to look at this woman that's described in 17, and then we'll go back over and connect back up with 13 after we look at this woman. She is commonly called the scarlet harlot. We'll look at her and see what she looks like. Gary, you want to read verse 1?
And one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters."
All right. Now, we haven't studied about these vials yet, but we will, when we go back to 13, we come back through, we'll study about these vials. And so what is she sitting on?
Many waters.
Many waters. Now read verse 5.
Find it. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth.
That's her real name there. Now, look at verse 15 in the same chapter.
Then he said to me, "The waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues."
Okay, so now you have an idea who she is. She's sitting on the, she's has something to do with all of the nations, the people of the earth, all of the tongues of the earth, all the nationalities, and she's a mystery, and she's called the Babylon the Great, and she's called the mother of harlots and abominations, mother of abominations, and of the earth. What are those things? What in the world is a harlot? That's all kinds of sin stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be the mother of this. Now, let's go back up now and Norman read verse 2.
Which one?
In chapter 17, verse 2.
Verse 2.
Yeah.
With her kings, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries.
So fornication in the King James Version is what, adultery in your version, right? It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Do we see any of this kind of stuff going on in today's world?
Yes.
This over here, this is actually, it's pretty well underway now. And part of the reason I wanted to look at this woman now is because she's working on earth now. And Satan's carrying her around on earth and spreading all this stuff throughout the earth. But to really get bad after the Christ rapture. You know, we think it's bad now, but it's not even close to what it's going to be like after you take the Christian influence on earth out. And verse 3 of 17 So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman set upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now this is kind of a wild-looking creature, isn't it? He got 7 heads and 10 horns, and this woman, the scarlet woman, is this woman sitting on this scarlet-colored beast. So she's sitting up there. Now look at turn over verse 9 there in 17. Verse 9 and 17 says, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth." And in verse 12 says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdoms yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast." Now, so we have this woman is sitting on this beast, and he has 10. He has he has the 10 horns, and these 10 horns are nations or countries or governments. They're kings that they're not kings yet. They're kings to come. And in verse 9 it says, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom." And the wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. What is wisdom? What is wisdom? It's understanding, right? Understanding of what, of things. And it's talking more about spiritual wisdom. We're in a spiritual realm when we're studying and reading here, and these verses kind of explain this verse 3 over here. "So he carried me away in the spirit, and this woman is sitting on a scarlet-colored beast, and he's full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So the heads are the kings, and the 10 horns are the business, is the nations, But anyway, so they're busy, and these are nations and kingdoms. It's not. Some of it is. Some of these nations are present, but the kings aren't present in biblical times. Some of the nations are present, but not all the nations are present yet, because they hadn't discovered the United States and all the Americas yet. So they only know about all John really knows about is those nations over there. So those are the present nations. And now read verse 4, Gary. 17 verse 4.
The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication.
All right, how's she dressed? Is she poverty or riches?
Riches.
She's dressed in riches. What is it? If you're going to draw away all the nations and all the kingdoms, and what kind of a lure are you going to use? If you're going to catch a fish, you use a bright, shiny lure. What are you going to do if you're going to lure all the kingdoms away from God or away from His teachings? What are you going to do? What kind of lure are you going to use?
Bright, shiny.
Bright, shiny, gold, silver, jewelry, beautiful women. It's all that, with all the things that goes along with all that stuff, all that worldly fornication and all that, and then from spiritually speaking, all of that filthiness that goes on with the drinking and the carousing and all that. all of those things, and she's dressed in this, and her cup is full of what? The abominations and filthiness of her fornication. This woman is leading all these nations astray and all the kingdoms astray, and so she's pretty busy. Let's read Acts 13:10. Let's turn back over to that. Acts 13:10. Acts 13. It says, and said, O full of subtlety and all mischief, thou child of the devil, thou enemy of all righteousness, wilt thou not cease to pervert the right ways of the Lord? So in this verse here, it says, I've got written, what is this sorcerer full of? This is Paul's talking to Paul, Saul, sometimes called Paul. He is talking to a sorcerer. And what's this sorcerer full of? He's the enemy of righteousness, and he's not going to cease to pervert the right ways of the Lord. He's going to continue to do that. But that's what this woman does, is she perverts, she twists, she leads people away, and she uses all kinds of stuff to draw people to the devil, and actually they become children of the devil. They're like his children. Just like we become children of the Lord, some people commit themselves over to the devil and his work, and they preach and teach and do things to promote his evilness. And they didn't just do that in the New Testament, they do that also in today's world, don't they?
Mm.
There's all kinds of teaching and stuff, that Christianity stuff, that's a bunch of bull, you get away from that. This real life is over here, and they do that all the time. Chapter 17, verse 6.
I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement.
So what in the world did he marvel at? What was his response when he saw her? He marveled. What did he marvel at? It said he had great admiration on the King James Version. He wondered with great admiration. Now, why would John have any kind of admiration for this person that's doing all this stuff? Verse 7 says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Now right here begins a description of these, some of these beasts. Verse 8 says, the beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into the perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. Verse 9 says, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom.
Okay.
The 7 heads are mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space." And he goes on down and explains some more about this, about the king, about this this beast, this government beast. I don't want to get in too much into that. But we get in. Now let's look at the mind of wisdom. It mentioned there. This it said there in. Let's look at Acts 6:10. If you're talking about a nation that was, what kind of a nation is that? A nation that was. What is a nation that was? That would be one in the past, right? If it was, it's past. If you're talking about a nation that is, what's that nation? If you're talking about one that is, if one that was is past, what is one that is?
Present.
That would be the present. That would be like in John's time, present then, because that's what he's talking. If you talk about one that's yet to come, what nation are you talking about there? What type of nation are you talking about there? One that ain't there yet, right? So you have a beast kingdom that was when Christ was on earth and when John was writing the Revelation. Then you have a nation that is, and then you have a nation that is to come. And then you have some past stuff, present stuff, and future stuff in that one verse, right? It's saying all that. I want to insert here, before we go any further, that the mind that has wisdom. Let's look at. I got 6 just over on my deal, but that's got to be 6:10. Yeah, 6:10 says, "And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake." So, what would be the power of the wisdom of God? They're having a dispute with Stephen, and they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit with which he spake. And then it says, "Then they, stubborn men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God." So they're accusing Stephen of Stephen is steadfast, hard, firm in speaking God's truths. They're saying he's the one doing the blasphemy, right? But Stephen, what did they do to Stephen? They stoned him, didn't they? But the mind that hath wisdom is like Stephen's mind. It's going to conflict with the mindset of evil. So if you got a good mindset and you understand the things of Christ and you speak that, you're going to run into some opposition from the evil, because they're going to put you down and make you think you don't know what you're talking about. Or if you keep on, you don't join them, they will destroy you one way or the other. Either they can destroy you nowadays financially, they can destroy you, physically or whatever. But I mean, one way or another, you wind up destroyed. But the mind of wisdom stays with God no matter what. And here is the mind which hath wisdom, the 7 heads and 7 mountains on which the woman sat. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue for a short time. So the nations here, he's talking about these lands, countries. Some of them are there, and one of them is not yet come. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. I didn't track every bit of that, but it's talking about, and the beast that was, that's in the past, and the beast that is not, even he is the 8th, and the one that hadn't been found yet, or is not known of at this time, he's the 8th, and is of the 7. He joins up with the 7. He may be the 8th nation, but he may come in later, but he actually hooks up with his first group. And then they go into perdition. What does that say? Verse 11. What's that perdition in your translation? That'd be the last word in verse 11.
The beast who once was and now is not, and is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction.
Going to his destruction.
Yeah.
So all these nations are going, the one that isn't, and the ones that are, and the ones that was, that group of nations is going to go to their destruction. Now, these nations, the part that they play is, all right, verse 12 says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now this power, this beast that's given them the power is Satan that come out of the abyss. Now these nations, they're all together. The kings are going to receive a kingdom for 1 hour, and they've all hooked up together. Read 13 and 14 there, Gary.
These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. These will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are called chosen and faithful.
Okay. Now what do you think, what are those 2 verses describing? They're describing Armageddon, the battle of Armageddon. These kings, these 10 nations get, the ones that are and the ones that is and the one that's come, those, they join together and they fight for Satan against Christ at the battle of Armageddon. And he hath and so this, when these nations is talked about here, they all, after Christ raptures his people, they get stronger, and they're the ones that force the mark of the beast and all this, and they wind up controlling the earth because of the, that's what when they control the economics of the earth, they wind up controlling the earth. Well, when Christ comes back with his saints to occupy the earth for 1,000 years, then these nations here, that's mentioned here, they cause all of the earth to meet at Armageddon, which is the valley there that's all cleared away there in Israel. We'll get to that later. But these nations that's mentioned here, they're the ones that leads the earth nations to battle Christ as Christ is bringing his saints back to earth. And they only an hour. It says they're going to be kings for an hour. How long did it take Christ to destroy the earthly war machines there at Armageddon when he destroyed them with the sword of his mouth? But how long did it take him to do it? Not very long. And that's what these guys are kings for a little while. They gather all the peoples of the earth there, all the armies of the earth go there to fight against this invasion, and then they're all destroyed by Christ. So we haven't gotten to all that, but that's what all this leads up to. Now, there is, beginning with 8th verse and all the way down through 18, there's some more descriptions of these nations and like that, but we'll get to those later. Let's go back over to now to chapter 13, where we are there in Revelation. This is where we left off. We finished chapter 12 the other day, and I just wanted you to get a picture of these nations. We're going to be reading about things coming up to this and things happening that's caused by this harlot lady. Now, let's read 1 through 10. This is going to describe one of these beasts. Okay, Gary, you want to read 2 or 3 verses, whatever your paragraph is there, and then Norman, you can read the next paragraph, and then I'll finish it up.
Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his head a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all of the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?"
Okay, Norman, you want to read?
The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemy, and to have exercised his authority for 42 months. He opened his mouth and blasphemed God, and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. He was given the power to make war against the saints and to conquer them, and he was given authority over every tribe, people, and language, and the nations. All inhabitants in the earth will worship the beast. And all these names and have not been written in the book of life. He belonged to the Lord, to the Lamb that was slain, and from the creation of the earth, of the world.
If any man hath an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. That's kind of a gruesome description, those 10 verses of this beast, isn't it? He's going to do all kinds of stuff. What's he going to do? He's rising. He's rising as if out of the sea. He's got 10 heads and 10 crowns, and his horns. Up on his horns 10 crowns, and up on his head the name of blasphemy. And this is one of those beasts that's part of this is before, is a nation that's been in existence before John. And some of it is nations that's in existence later. But they have one thing in common. Who are they controlled by?
Satan.
They're controlled by Satan. And where does he lead them? To war with Christ, right? With the saints. So right now, this Satan controlled stuff is not fighting Christ himself like they will at the Armageddon. They're fighting with Christians. And they, when they get, this is on the other side of the, when you get on the other side of the rapture, then the whole earth worships Satan. It's once you get the Christian influence out, then what we call bad sin now is just trivial stuff. What it'll be then, and this beast makes war with the saints, and verse 8 says, all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundations of the world. If you're not a Christian, if you don't have Jesus Christ as your Savior, and you don't have your book name written in the last book, in the book that God opens for judgment, you don't have your name written in that book, then you're going to worship Satan and do all the things that he wants you to do and all this kind of stuff. And this nation here worships. There's not any way of knowing for sure which nation on earth is this nation. But just when you consider which nation this is a nation that was and that and is. So what is in there? Which nation has dragons in their worship and in their folklore and in their government? Which nation has a dragon emblem? In today's world, there's a nation that has dragon emblems especially in their folklore. They make it a point not to put it in their government, but in their folklore, you see them parade and they have dragon, beast-looking things. China. I don't know whether this nation is China or not, but it's a good description of China. And when you go look back, China's 4,000 plus years old, under the same dynasty. And so that's the nation it was before John saw the vision. Then it was also going on at the time, and it's continued on. Now, when you get, it doesn't, since it leaves it in these forms and this, what do you call it, allegoric descriptions or whatever, you can't just say deliberately that is the nation. I can't anyway. Maybe somebody might know. But what it says is, if you're not written in the name your name's not written in the book of life, then you're going to fall down and worship this dragon. So the important thing is not which nation it is. The important is to be saved. Make sure you got your name written down in the book of life, right? Now, how much time we got? About time to quit?
It's about 5 till 10.
5 till 10. All right. You want to read about this next nation? Start with. Okay, where did we get to? We got through 11, didn't we? Or through 10. Start with 11, Gary, and read.
Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword and lived.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that the mark of the name of the beast or number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's 3 sixes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this beast, this beast has 2 horns. Now the horns are governments. That's a 2-horned, 2-king government. And then he speaks as a lamb. He starts out good, and he's like a lamb, but then he speaks as a dragon. He exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So this beast is the one that actually leads getting people to put the Satan's mark on their forehead or in their hand, and uses the economy to do it. So these beasts control the economy eventually, and when they control the economy, you can't buy anything without the mark of the beast on it. Now I know that people use food as an example of this, but if you were 100 miles away from home and you needed gas, and you had your credit cards and stuff in there and all this kind of stuff, and you need gas to get back home. Maybe the wife is sick, maybe the children are sick, but you're headed home, you're on your way in, and you're down to E, and you got 100 miles to go. And you go into the gas station. Are you going to get 3 sixes put on you to get gas to go on home? Tend to your family or not? That's a little different situation than just skipping a hamburger, isn't it? But that's what it's going to come to. And these beasts that we're reading here about in chapter 13, they're actually 10 nations altogether, I think, that does all this. And these nations eventually control all of the economy of the earth. And you don't buy or sell or do any commerce business without the mark of the beast on you. And it says that if you don't do it, then you're going to be killed. We read about that where the death angels, and all this, they kill everybody that don't receive the mark of the beast. You're killed. And but if you're off like that and you can't get back, are you going to get back to save your family? You have to be there, or are you going to say, okay, I ain't taking no beast, okay, no mark of the beast, no marks on me? Then they're going to kill you, and they would kill you there on the spot. Now this government, he's a two-horned beast. He actually has two kings. So what nation do you know that has two kings in today's world? Which nation has two kings? I think the United States has two kings. One of them's called the Republican Party, and the other one's called the Democrat Party. Now, I'm just guessing but look what that says. It says the other come up out of the earth, and he had two horns, and that like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The United States not always been trustworthy when it says something like that. And he exercised all the power of the first beast, and he causes people to worship the first beast. In verse 14 it says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had the power to do. And we've done a lot of miracles. We sent people into space. We've done this. We've done all kinds of stuff, right? And done all kinds of miracles. Eventually he makes an image to the beast. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak, and if you did not worship the beast, he had the power that you should be killed. So that's a lot of power this beast has. But the thing is, it starts out as a real nice person, nice government. But it winds up an evil government. And this government and this first group of governments team together. Now, my personal opinion is if you add them all up, you have all of the ones that has Chinese descendants as their leaders in governments. All of your ISIS, Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese, all of this, all of this group of nations add up to the number that's mentioned in here, and they all add, and then you add the United States in there as a player that joins in with them, and these nations are the ones that wind up putting the mark of the beast on you. But it's actually this two-horned beast that leads in that. And but it's a deceptive nation. It starts out as a good nation, winds up as a bad nation. And these two nations, these nations here, these 10 nations, but this one is the leader when he leads the earth to go to Armageddon and fight the battle of Armageddon. This two-horned nation is a nation that leads that charge and convinces the rest of the nations of the world to go there to fight an invasion. If you picture Jesus and his saints coming back to occupy the earth, that's going to be like an invasion coming into the earth. And this beast convinces the world to meet this oncoming invasion at the side of Armageddon. And that battle only lasts a short period of time, less than an hour. That's the reason those kings are only kings for an hour. When they get to be king, they ain't king very long. And then, of course, Christ defeats them. And when he defeats them, well, then he occupies the earth for 1,000 years after that. So a lot goes on there, and I'm not proposing I know everything, but these two these beasts right here, they sure fit the descriptions of this chapter. All of these nations that I just mentioned fit these descriptions. And we can see things moving that direction right now, where they're moving the economy. You know, right now we've been controlled. You control energy, food, and water, and you got people controlled. And right now, Halliburton they've been the leader in controlling oil around the world, right? That's energy.
Yeah.
But right now, they're buying, controlling, putting water rights around the world doing water the same way, and Halliburton doing this. Right now, they're putting water in the same way as they have energy, the way they do oil. Control it by leases, by grant, by this, by that. It's controlling the water. And the food is being gradually, very few people grows food for themselves. Eventually, there probably won't be any growing food for themselves. You're going to have no energy, no food, no water. Now, what happens to a man if he can't build a fire, he can't grow no groceries, can't catch no fish, and he can't get a drink of water? There ain't much left, is there? Mm-hmm. And when you are faced with that situation, if you're, like I said, if you're 100 miles out, you need gas, what are you going to do? Put the 3 6s on you or get killed right there? You know, that's a decision. Yeah, or if you want a drink of water, and the desert's surrounded you, you're out of water, and you don't have no food, you don't have no energy, and you don't have no water. You either die or you sign on. And when you sign on, then you're worshiping Satan. Gracious Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for watching care, and just ask you to guide and direct us as we go now to the service, and just help us to trust you and to keep you first in our lives, and help us to lead our children and grandchildren and friends to know you and trust you, that they will not go through all this time and tribulation that those that do not believe in you will. And we just ask you to guide and direct us and give us the strength and courage to speak your truth. In Jesus' name, amen. I have not